A deal is shifting trade routes, rewriting alliances, and bypassing Washington's leverage. While America tightens tariffs, Berlin is quietly locking in low-carbon metals from a partner across the Atlantic. This aluminum deal between Canada and Germany marks more than a sale. It's a geopolitical shift the U.S. is powerless to stop. In 2025, Canada and Germany sealed a metals pact worth billions, and it's changing global trade. At the heart of the deal is aluminum, one of the most strategic industrial materials on Earth. Canada's smelters run on hydroelectric power, making their aluminum some of the cleanest in the world. Germany needs low-carbon aluminum to meet strict EU climate rules. Now, Canadian aluminum is sailing away from U.S. ports and into European harbors. In 2024, Canada exported $18.06 million worth of aluminum to Germany. With a projected 0.46% uptick, shipments are set to reach approximately $18.1 million in 2025, a clear sign of steady, calculated growth in this vital trade corridor. And the best part? The shift to Europe is accelerating. Germany alone accounted for hundreds of millions in imports, with more growth expected in 2025. For German automakers, Canadian aluminum is more than a raw material. It's a compliance solution for Europe's carbon border adjustment mechanism. Why now? U.S. tariffs. Washington's import duties meant to protect American industries are pushing Canada toward new markets. The EU, in turn, is welcoming Canadian exports tariff-free under the CETA trade agreement. It's not just Germany. France has already expressed interest in Canadian clean aluminum for its aerospace sector. The Netherlands, Europe's logistics hub, is exploring long-term container contracts with Halifax, while Poland is expanding imports of Canadian aircraft parts and defense-grade alloys. In 2025, Italy, the Netherlands, and Belgium have all increased imports of Canadian aluminum products. Every new shipment cements Canada's role as a premium supplier in the world's most climate-regulated trade zone. Welcome to Geo Capitalist, where we decode global wealth, one power shift at a time. If you want to see the hidden forces behind trade, infrastructure, and global finance, subscribe now. Because the stories shaping tomorrow's markets are unfolding right now. Canada is the fourth largest aluminum producer on the planet, with 10 major smelters in Quebec and British Columbia. 95% of Canadian aluminum is exported, built for global markets. Trade ties are reinforced by cultural ones. In 2025, over 320,000 German citizens live in Canada. Air and shipping links are expanding, making just-in-time manufacturing possible across the Atlantic. This isn't just a metals deal. It's a long-term shift in economic alignment, and it sends a clear message. Clean energy, political stability, and reliable supply now define the winners in global trade. For decades, the United States has been Canada's biggest aluminum customer, buying close to 90% of output. But in 2018, tariffs hit. In 2020, they hit again. And by 2025, the pattern was clear. Every political dispute risked becoming an economic one. Aluminum, a cornerstone of Canada's export economy, was repeatedly pulled into trade fights it didn't start. In early 2025, Washington floated another round of tariffs, citing national interest. For Canadian exporters, that was the final warning. They began fast-tracking deals beyond North America, turning toward Europe, not out of hostility, but out of survival. Germany emerged as the most strategic partner. Europe's largest economy was under pressure to decarbonize its industries fast. It needed aluminum with a tiny carbon footprint. Something Canada produces better than almost anyone else, thanks to hydro-powered smelters in Quebec and British Columbia. By shifting its trade routes eastward, Canada isn't just protecting revenue. It's sending a message. It will no longer be a passive price taker in a U.S.-dominated market. The aluminum pact with Germany is both a hedge against political risk and a ticket into the world's most climate-regulated trade zone. A market willing to pay a premium for metals that meet its strict environmental rules. The pact is more than a handshake. It's a multi-year agreement designed to anchor Germany's industrial transition. Canadian producers have committed to supplying clean aluminum directly to German automakers, construction giants, and aerospace manufacturers, sectors where steel is heavy but aluminum is lighter, stronger, and far cleaner to produce. In 2024, Canada exported over $18 million worth of aluminum to Germany, still small compared to U.S. sales, but already more than double the levels seen before 2022. And the trajectory is unmistakable. Germany's motivation is simple. The EU's Carbon Border Adjustment Mechanism, or CBAM, now adds significant costs to imports with high emissions. Since much of the world's aluminum is smelted with coal, it faces steep penalties. Canadian aluminum, powered by nearly 100% renewable energy, bypasses these penalties entirely, making it both competitive and compliant. For Canada, this is a foot in the door to Europe's biggest economy. It reduces dependency on a single customer and locks in contracts with buyers who value long-term stability. For Germany, it's about securing supply before competition drives prices higher. Industry watchers are calling this the most climate-aligned metals deal of 2025, not because of its size yet, but because of what it signals, a permanent change in where the world's cleanest industrial materials will flow. Aluminum may be the headline, but it's only part of the story. Canada's trade with Germany is increasingly diversified, reflecting both countries' push toward strategic resilience. Among Canada's many exports to Germany in 2024, these 5 ranked at the top: mineral fuels, oils, distillation products, ores, slag, and ash. Significant volumes for Germany's manufacturing base. Inorganic chemicals and precious metal compounds, critical for electronics and green tech. Aircraft and spacecraft parts, valued at $124 million, supporting Germany's aerospace industry. According to Statistics Canada, Germany is now Canada's 6th largest export market, with total bilateral trade exceeding 25 billion Canadian dollars. These flows are not static. They're growing in sectors where environmental standards create barriers for competitors. Canada's advantage is twofold. It has the natural resources Europe needs, and it can deliver them in a form that passes the EU's strict emissions tests without added costs. Even a modest increase in market share here could translate into billions in new revenue over the next decade. In other words, the aluminum pact isn't just about one metal. It's part of a wider, deliberate move to expand Canada's footprint in Europe's high-value, low-carbon economy, while bypassing the unpredictable politics of U.S. trade. Germany didn't pick Canada at random. It's the result of converging needs. Berlin is in the middle of a massive industrial transition. The EU's climate policies are forcing companies to cut emissions fast or pay steep carbon penalties. For aluminum, the stakes are high. Smelters powered by coal produce nearly 4 times the CO2 per ton compared to Canada's hydro-powered operations. By importing from Canada, Germany gets immediate compliance with CBAM, the EU's carbon border tax, without investing in costly offsets or technology upgrades. That gives German automakers like Volkswagen and BMW, as well as construction and aerospace firms, a competitive advantage in global markets. Canada also offers political stability, something not guaranteed when sourcing from China, Russia, or parts of the Middle East. And with the Comprehensive Economic and Trade Agreement, CETA, eliminating most tariffs between Canada and the EU, the economics are as attractive as the environmental credentials. Other EU countries are taking note. In 2025, the Netherlands, Belgium, Denmark, and Poland have all increased imports of Canadian aluminum products. These buyers see Canada not only as a cleaner option, but also as a long-term hedge against geopolitical shocks. The takeaway is clear. Germany's choice signals to the rest of Europe that sourcing clean metals from Canada isn't just possible. It's strategic. And once these supply chains are in place, they're hard to undo. Tariffs are meant to protect domestic industries, but in this case, they've done the opposite. When Washington raises import duties on Canadian aluminum, it drives Ottawa to seek new markets. Those markets often pay better, and they tend to sign longer-term contracts. Since the first round of Trump-era tariffs in 2018, Canada has accelerated trade diversification, signing deals across Europe and the Asia-Pacific. By 2025, the strategy is paying off. EU buyers who might have sourced elsewhere now see Canada as a proven, reliable partner. This creates a feedback loop. U.S. tariffs push Canada away, Canada builds relationships abroad, and those relationships make it less dependent on the U.S. in the future. Even more ironic, U.S. industries that rely on aluminum, from aerospace to beverage packaging, often end up paying more because they have to source from countries with higher production costs or lower environmental standards. In effect, tariffs meant to strengthen America's supply chain are strengthening Canada's global trade position instead. For Ottawa, the aluminum pact with Germany is proof that every trade challenge can be turned into leverage. Canada's economy in 2025 is performing better than many expected, especially given the tariff pressure from its largest trading partner. One reason: the country's natural resource exports have global demand that's hard to replace. Aluminum is the most visible example, but it's part of a broader portfolio. Mineral fuels, ores, chemicals, and high-tech aerospace components are all areas where Canada can compete internationally. This diversity cushions the economy against shocks in any single sector. Government policy has also played a role. Post-2018, Ottawa invested in trade infrastructure, port expansions in Halifax, new rail links to container hubs, and digital customs systems to speed up exports. These investments made it easier for Canadian companies to pivot when tariffs hit. The Aluminum Pact is a case in point. Germany's orders are moving quickly because the infrastructure was already in place. The same systems now support other exports, from LNG to specialized manufacturing components. By turning tariff threats into opportunities for expansion, Canada has demonstrated a kind of economic agility that larger economies sometimes lack. This isn't just resilience, it's strategic adaptation. Trade relationships often grow stronger when backed by cultural connections, and Canada-Germany is no exception. In 2025, roughly 320,000 German citizens and residents live in Canada, forming one of the country's largest European diaspora communities. Many are concentrated in Ontario, British Columbia, and Alberta, where they contribute to local industries ranging from advanced manufacturing to renewable energy. These ties show up in business too. German companies like Siemens, BASF, and ThyssenKrupp have significant Canadian operations, with Siemens Canada recently expanding its smart grid and electrification projects to support the country's clean energy transition. On the flip side, Canadian firms supply Germany with aircraft components, critical minerals, and clean hydrogen technology, sectors that align with Germany's post-2030 industrial policy. Transport links are also deepening. In 2024, direct container shipping between Halifax and Hamburg expanded by 18%, cutting delivery times by nearly a week and making just-in-time manufacturing more viable for German automakers and aerospace firms. Passenger travel is increasing too, with Lufthansa and Air Canada adding more non-stop routes between Frankfurt, Munich, Toronto, and Vancouver. These personal, commercial, and logistical links mean that when Canada makes a move, like the Aluminum Pact, it's not starting from scratch. Decades of trust, cross-investment, and cultural familiarity lay the foundation for high-value, long-term trade agreements. The Canada-Germany Aluminum Pact is more than a trade deal. It's a signal that clean energy capacity, reliable supply chains, and political stability are now the key currencies in global commerce. And in all three, Canada is well positioned. By shifting a portion of its $25 billion plus metals and industrial exports toward Europe, Ottawa is building leverage that isn't tied to U.S. market swings, tariff cycles, or political turnover in Washington. Germany gains a stable source of low-carbon aluminum, allowing it to meet EU climate targets under the Carbon Border Adjustment Mechanism without exposing its industries to costly penalties. Washington now faces a challenge: how to keep Canada economically tied to the U.S., while Ottawa's network of global partners grows stronger. If you found this breakdown valuable, watch our next video. It connects directly to what's unfolding. And don't forget to subscribe. Your support helps us decode these global shifts without compromise. Let us know in the comments, is Canada simply diversifying, or is this the start of a permanent economic pivot? Either way, the world is watching. This was Canada and Germany's Aluminum Pact. The U.S. can't stop. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.